here's the canisters all welded up. It's not pretty, but for a MIG spool gun, I guess it's alright. They were pressure tested to 20 psi. I wanted to make sure. So I had a rig with adjustable regulator and a couple fittings and was able to pressure test them to 20 psi. Now we're mixing up a little bit of paint with this rig Harbor Freight paint shaker, which actually works pretty darn good. So we'll let that mix up. I got some primer in there, and then we will paint them, put the fittings all back together, and pressure test them one more time at 20 psi. Alright, so here's the test rig. It's on. Right now we have just under 20 psi. It's more than enough. And just to make sure that my leak detection fluid works, I squirt down a few things. But then you just squirt down everything. Everywhere. Now this hose right here is leaking, so I don't want to spray that because the bubbles will travel down and make it appear that it's leaking. So I want to leak check everywhere that I welded all these end caps, and I'll show you that leak in that top hose just so you can see that it's well, you can see in that through the threads. That's what I was saying about threads. Now this is under pressure, but threads always have a tendency to seep and leak and whatnot. So essentially everything is leak free at about 18 psi, which is more than enough. So if I get this thing, you'll see it's leaking, but that's coming out of that top fitting. If you ever leak check stuff, keep repeating it, because many times you'll fool yourself into thinking you do have a leak or you don't have a leak. Many times you fool yourself into thinking you do have a leak. Like if you were to just not see where that leak was coming from and you just looked at it, you might assume that that leak was coming from right there, but it's not. It's coming from the top. So in that case, just keep repeating it and make sure you only squirt the leak detection fluid in the area that you want to work. That's why this has a little straw to get it exactly where you want it. Instead of taking like a bottle and spraying the whole thing down, it's very difficult to find a leak when there's just bubbles everywhere. So anyways, this one is leak free and good. At 18 psi, 19 psi, 18 psi, whatever. The only leaks I have is on my little test rig. So we'll do the other one, and this system should work pretty good. So now I have to mark the holes up here and drill and tap. Alright, so I've just marked only 2 holes using a transfer punch. Transfer punch is a punch that fits snugly in these holes to center it perfectly, and then when you tap it, it's going to leave a center point that's going to be easy to drill. You can see one there, and I have one over there, and I only marked 2 because it's too hard to hold to get all 5 holes perfectly centered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill and tap 2 holes, put those screws in, and then go back and mark the rest of them when that thing is screwed in place nice and tight. And I'm going to do that for both of these. Just real quick, 2 of my favorite things in the whole wide world for drilling and tapping. For drilling, this bow lube. I learned about this from my work. You know, the sheet metal guys do a lot of work on airplanes, drill a lot of holes, and you can get this stuff on Amazon. And then to tap something, you need, absolutely 100% need something like Tap Magic or some kind of lubrication. This, God forbid you bust off the tap. So I'm going to use a little bit of bow lube and then drill these holes and then tap them. Alright, so we're going to tap this. So we have a little bit of our Tap Magic. Tapping is something simple. Put a little oil in the hole, a little oil on the tap. Tapping is something simple, but if you can do it and incorporate it into some of your basic builds, especially with aluminum, it's very easy and it can add a lot. So the tap is tapered, it goes in, make sure the tap is straight as you can get it, and then slowly, of course, make sure you put some Tap Magic or other lubricant on there, specifically something that is for tapping, and just slowly go in the tightening direction. And when it starts to get a little bit hard, just back it off a little bit, go back in. I could probably just jam this right in there all the way, but I like to be careful. Back it off just a hair. That gets the chips out. You see it's fluted. It's not a continuous thread, so there's space in there to collect the chips. And back it off just a little bit. And the reason why I do this is if anybody's ever had a tap break off in something, it's a real nightmare because tap is very hardened steel. You can't drill it out because it's basically the same hardness as the drill, and you'll go through 100 drills. So we'll run it down, clean it all out. Alright, so we got 2 screws in. I'm going to take my transfer punch that is centered in that hole, and we're just going to lightly tap each one. Now we have all of our other holes marked. One thing to note is that these holes, and this is true of most fuel senders, are not symmetrical. So whichever way you tap these right now is exactly how this will have to go in. But if you're trying to shoot for this to go for a particular direction, make sure that you, in orientation of these or whatever, make sure that you mark your holes and drill them with that facing the way that you want to. Alright, so we got all the holes drilled, tapped, and inserted. The gasket is in between there. So to get this to seal properly, one of the last things we got to do, we need to put thread locker on each one of these screws. Otherwise, fuel will migrate up. Now, if you put enough pressure on the gasket and the gasket is tight, the gasket will compress around the screw. But and it may be fuel tight or liquid tight at that point, but this is just going to ensure that they are. So I gotta do this last step. Now this rubber gasket, you don't want to crank down on it too much. So just a little coating there. And then this will be sealed. Of course, on the fittings, when we put those in, they will be also put in with thread sealer. So that's pretty much it. I'll do the rest of these. Alright, so there it is. Gaskets in between there. Everything's level and tight. Thread sealant on all of the screws. And you can hear the float move up and down, so it is free to move the full travel.
So I just drilled 2 little pilot holes for the gauges. And Alan's going to go move some plants to make sure we have enough clearance for the gauges. This is what they're going to look like. One there. Both tanks. What are you doing?
I'm about to make you drill a hole in the wood in the teak and not go too deep so we don't get into the AC wiring on the other side.
Yeah.
Yes, we should shut it off, but I think we have sufficient distance. I just moved all the cables back there. So you're going to do this, and I'm going to take the camera.
We're not going to have any mishaps.
So what I want you to do,
Just line that up.
well, that bit's going to go in the pilot hole, right? And then you're just going to, with moderate pressure, you're going to need 2 hands on that drill.
Okay.
So like,
Is that good?
yeah, I think so. So go ahead and let it get up some speed. More than that. Don't push very hard. Don't push very hard.
I'm not pushing
Almost
hard.
pull back, almost. Just to, because it wants to bite. let it build speed, and then you're going to control with pressure. All right, hold on. Oh, you're smoking the drill. Let me see here. You hold this. I'll start it.
Uh-oh.
It's all right.
How come it's smoking?
Because you're pushing too hard. See, you can just let it go. I can just hold it there.
Oh.
All right, I'm not putting any pressure on it. But if I start to put pressure on it, it starts to cut.
Oh,
I can even go like that. All right, so
okay. It didn't seem like I was pushing hard.
it doesn't take much. Look at all the teeth on there. It just grabs.
Yeah.
All right, so you can see our hole. You can even modulate it. So what I want you to do is I'll take this, bring it up to speed like I had it.
You want to film it from the other side?
Other side? No.
Make sure I don't hit anything?
Well, maybe I'll go down there. First, I'll be able to tell on this side. Because if you don't go deep, so don't push. Floor the trigger. Floor it all the way. Now just gently push and watch how it's going through. Kind of modulate the trigger and the pressure, and the less it really grabs hard, the cleaner the hole it's going to make, and the less you're going to burn through the other side. And so when you get close, don't put a lot of pressure. So yeah, it should be when that piece
gets through
right there gets about even with the wood. That's about how deep it's going to go. You got plenty of time here. Guess we should have got a vacuum on it. Now be prepared for it to break through. I don't know exactly when it's going to break through. Big thing is you want to pull back immediately. And the further you get in, the less pressure you put on it. Okay, gentle. At this point, go very gently. And hopefully, if you're doing it right, you should just feel it give way, and you go in maybe a couple millimeters with your drill or your hole saw.
You want to go check it?
Just keep. You're getting close.
Yeah,
So just very gently. All right, hold it. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to go in like 2 inches to touch anything.
Have to go in further?
No, I'm saying before you hit anything, you would have to go in 2 inches. So, but just be careful. You want me to do the last part?
I want to do it.
Okay, just go gently.
I gotta get a feel for it.
Right.
That's
That's good. Just like that. And you can even go like put a little pressure and then pull back. A little pressure and pull back. A little pressure, pull back, and pulses. There it goes. Okay.
Woo.
Let me crack this off from the other side here. Watch your finger. Yes, we should have the AC power off. But it's not that much of a problem. Okay, you can put your gauge in there. Okay, let me get a vacuum. Good vacuum. It's actually one of the Ryobi cordless one, 18 volts. Comes in extremely handy on a boat. Stuff in there too. Right on top of there. Yeah. Okay. Right there. Yeah, that's true. That's alright. That's good enough.
We're no woodworkers. We just play one on the internet.
That's why we're using a metal file on the wood.
I know. At least you're using the right tools.
Well, I just don't want to go too far.
We're just trying to make sure the holes are level. That's all. One was a little bit lower than the other. I noticed it, but that's just me. Right here. A little more even. What do you think? I'm not
I
sure.
think it's fine.
Why am I so?
So
I'm so anal.
she thinks that, and it is. I mean, this one's slightly lower, but
They're
she
lower?
will. She will. This is.
Yeah, okay,
we will
yeah.
spend the rest of the day trying to get these things perfectly level to a couple 100,000.
We just want to do it right the first time.
Yeah, that's plenty good.
80-20.
All right. So we're gonna actually measure. So this one is 0.80.
Wait. Okay.
And this one is actually lower. It's very close. This one actually measures 0.80. Sometimes I get 0.81. So these are level, at least to this edge.
Okay.
All right, so that's good enough.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the kind of admiral I'm dealing with. Perfectionist. Got a little bit of
Oh my
stuff right here. Hopefully the bezel covers it, but it's not a big deal. Considering all the other little dings and things.
The Admiral wants the job done right.
Yes. Yeah. Let's just slide them in there and see what they look like. Yeah, that'll be fine.
You can always just not pay attention to it. Especially
right.
with the wheel here. It's not
Yeah.
heavy.
I am going to put those back pieces on.
Okay.
So if you want to hold the gauges.
Okay. Can't really see from here.
That's okay. Alright, we got other fitting. Where's another fitting?
Right here.
Put clamps on this afterwards. I just want to get them on before I go down there, and then I want to always face the rating of the hose out. Only because if you ever get a survey or whatever, they like to see that you have the right hose. Yeah.
You're strong.
We are finishing up the fuel system. As I said before, on this boat, all I had was fuel sight gauges. These are new tanks, well, new to the boat anyways. They're probably 5 years old or something. Aluminum tanks, custom built. All they put in them was sight gauges, plastic tubes. And I didn't like that because you had to get just what I'm doing now. Climb all the way down here on top of something that can't really be climbed on. And then you had to open those valves right there. That valve there and that valve there. And then you had to do the same thing on the other side. So it was a little bit of a pain in the butt. So the sight tubes just went from here to there. I took these fittings out, bought some fittings, got this marine hose. This is the proper marine hose, double clamped. And those barb fittings, I've searched, I found extra long barbs so I can get double clamps on them. You know, there's actually no rule for double clamping, but it's a good idea. And 3/16 stainless clamps, and double clamped each long barb fitting. So these are the tubes. I just bought 3-inch aluminum. Got the kit for the fuel sender, which is little magnetic reed switches, which are very reliable, and the gauge, which I'll show you here in a minute. And those were only like 35 bucks each. This aluminum tube I bought, like a 8-foot section, and that was like 70 bucks. I still have a lot left over. These little brackets right here, these little brackets right here are from Amazon. They're like 20 bucks for a set of 2. So with the fittings, the hose, the aluminum, it's about 100 bucks for each one of these, I would say, and a little bit of labor. And I got to leak check these. They've been open all day, so I'm pretty sure they're going to be fine. That red stuff on there now is not fuel. That's the Loctite thread sealer, and no drip so far. So that's that side, nice and mounted. Take a look at the other side real quick. Now, I got a lot of tie wrapping and rearranging of wires to do, and to tidy up that bundle. Eventually that whole bundle is gonna have to come apart, and there's got to be 10 pounds of wire up there that doesn't need to be there. So there's the ones on that. I got to adjust the bracket a little bit. It's a little bit crooked. So then the wires go forward. Let me get up here. This is why I don't like climbing down on the sight tubes. You got to get on your freaking knees. Yes. Here, let me help you up. Watch your head. Okay, so now everything's actually on and operational. The tanks are exactly reading correctly. So there's the gauges, and we mounted them not in the best location, but you know, fuel gauges is not like, it's not like watching your chart plotter or something like that. You just need to glance at them once in a while. So it's partially obscured by the wheel, but it's very easy to get to in the backside in case I have to wire. Also, there's a button on the back of these gauges that you can cycle through the colors, and they're reading fine. I just centered that tube with the height of the tank, and I made the tube to the length of the float switches, or float sender, fuel sender that is in there. That seems to be working good, and so I won't have full range. It'll be like 7/8 range. I don't know, 7/8 of range. So that the top of the, when it says full, I'll probably still have 10 gallons to go in the tank. When it says empty, I'll probably have 10 gallons to go in the tank. So I'll read like the middle 80 gallons on each tank. So I'm just going to show you the cycle through the
see the colors.
Yeah, we can see the colors. Actually, the red, you can see this now. I don't want to fall in the hatch that's open, but you can see it's not very bright. So the red is actually pretty good for night viewing. Yeah, and then she's going to go through she's just doing one at a time. So it's got green. That's kind of a purple blue. It's like white. A yellowish or amber, kind of a greenish amber, and that's an orange, purple, off. Oh, that was pretty cool. And then green. So when it's off, the needle still lights up. I didn't notice that till now. Keep going, and then back to red. So that's pretty cool. We just settled on red because you can see it fine when the lights are all on. You can see it just fine, and at night it's not going to blind you. So I got all this dust up here and all this stuff. So that's the entire. Am I clear down there?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the entire panel. So that's pretty much the finished product of the upper helm, and now the fuel indication system. So pretty damn happy with it. I just like to glance at fuel gauges, you know, like normal people, not go down in the bilge, crawling around, getting all dirty, and that's where you had to go down. You had to go down that hatch. I got a bunch of foam pads down there right now because it was killing my knees to work down there. And then on this side here, it's not too bad. On this side, you got to reach over battery cables and a bunch of other stuff to get to it. So now I don't have to do that. I just do have to. I'm going to shut the valves because I'm done tonight, and then I'll come back and on another day and do a full day's work on something else. Leave the valves open and just test them over time to make sure. But so far, it's been open probably 5 hours, and they haven't had a drop. So. I'll double check before I leave. So anyways, another project finished.
We'll be cruising soon.
We'll be cruising soon. We actually went out once, but we got to go out again. It's not, the boat's ready to go out, but it's really lack of time to get out and do stuff. I got to mount those cameras next. One's going down below and one's going up top. So look at all this mess. Anyways, really happy about this project. Make sure to like and subscribe, or not. I just do it anyways, just to share information like this project. This isn't something you see a lot, and sometimes people rack their brains how to get a good fuel indication, dipsticks, this and that. This whole project's about $200, and probably, you know, if I knew my final destination when I started this, it would probably been about 6 or 7 hours of labor, maybe even less, you know, because I welded those canisters myself, so that took a little bit of time, and trying to source parts and things like that. So anyways, all right, gotta go. See you next time.